Good evening and welcome to our February 25th, 2020 City Council meeting. It is 6 p.m. We'll start with our Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Ortega.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lauer.
Here.
Councilmember Thompson. Here. Councilmember Estes. Here. Councilmember Applegate.
Here.
Councilmember Geek.
Here.
Councilmember Duncan.
Here.
All 7 members present.
Okay, I wanted to, real quickly, Chief Maxon isn't here, but wanted to, Councilman Geek asked if we wouldn't mind doing a moment of silence. Chief Gerardin with the Fire Department and Security recently lost his son, 22 years old, and just it was unexpected. And so just want to real quick have a quick moment of silence for the chief. We work really closely with security and want to show our support for Chief Gerardin. Okay, thank you. And please send our condolences if you talk to them, and tell them we're thinking about them, and hopefully they can get through this. Next is we'll move right into our agenda tonight. We got quite a bit of stuff going on. So item 4, no presentations, but we do have some appointment to some committees, and we'll start with the first one is appointment of one member to the Recreation Facility Advisory Committee, Ms. Huffman.
Thank you. On the Recreation Advisory Committee, it is made up of residents from School District 8, School District 3, and the Senior Center community. Ms. Florence Paradise was a member. She stepped down from her position and is being replaced by Gary Utes as far as the Senior Center representative.
Okay. Do we have any questions or anything about this? Should be pretty standard. Okay.
He's a great choice for the senior center.
Good. Okay, great. Ms. Duncan?
Are we done with questions?
No, if you have, or do you have a question?
No.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay. I move to appoint Gary Urtiz as a senior center representative for the Recreation Facility Advisory Committee.
Okay, and Ms. Estes?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of this person. Please vote.
7 yes, motion carried.
Mr. Utes, I'm sorry, not this person. And then our next one is a reappointment of 4 board members to the Economic Development Commission. Mr. Trainer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Kimberly Bailey couldn't be here tonight, but I wanted to present this for her. There are currently 4 members that are on our Economic Development Commission that are going off. They're not actually, excuse me, they're not going off, but their terms are ending, and so they're reapplying for the next 2-year appointment. That's Tom Downing, Wandaline Thomas, Darlene Cruz, and Dan Ozinski. Okay. And Kimberly indicated that none of them were going to be able to be here tonight.
Okay, and I didn't see a couple of them that I know of. So they are just being reappointed?
Reappointed. Yes,
okay. Unless there's any concerns? Council? Ms. Deidre?
I move to reappoint the proposed 4 members of the Economic Development Commission.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and second for approval. Please vote.
7 yes, motion carried.
All right. City Council agenda requests and announcements. I'll start with Ms. Duncan.
I just want to report that I attended a fundraiser on Sunday, February the 16th, for the League of Women Voters. It was a very nice event. I got to meet a lot of folks that were there that were running for office, folks that were there that were from City Council in Colorado Springs and Manitou. So it was a great event to be at. And I'm also requesting that we put the Fountain Youth City Council on the agenda for next week, for the next time.
Okay.
I got some very good information from Scott, and in about a week or so, Scott, I'll have some time, so we'll get together and get that ready for the next time.
I think that sounds good. Anybody have any issues with that? I think we're good on that. Okay, we'll get that scheduled, Ms. Huffman.
Sir.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Mr. Geek? Mr. Applegate? Ms. Tamara?
The museum, the next talk at the museum will be March 14th at 2 p.m., and the talk will be on the 1888 train explosion here in Fountain.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, this Friday, we've got the Fountain Creek Watershed District Board of Directors meeting here in council chambers at 2 p.m. At that meeting, we're supposed to be meeting a potential new executive director for possible appointment on that board. And then at last month's meeting, I was appointed to be the vice chair for this year. And Mr. Scorman sort of alluded that probably the presumed chair next year when we take a ballot initiative to the voters.
Who's the chair this year?
Terry Hart
Terry
from
Hart,
Pueblo.
okay.
That's it for me.
All right, and those switch between the two counties?
Every year, it has to go switch back and forth between a Pueblo County elected official and an El Paso County elected official. And the small municipality representative did not wish to be considered this year at all for any of the director positions.
Okay.
So Mr. Scorman asked me to do the vice chair.
Okay. Well, cool, thanks. All right, Ms. Thompson?
Yes, so at PPACG last week, we got a report from CDOT on public safety goals for the year. Had a large discussion on just a lot of the accidents that are going on around here and just people, road rage incidents and different things. So they worked with Fountain PD. They thanked them for a lot of their input on it. I thought it was fascinating that from the report, according to CDOT data, that there is no reported deaths from text and driving. The number one way people die is by driving off the road. So I have yet to figure out how you're not distracted when you're driving, but you drive off the road, and that's the number one way. We were all kind of looking at each other and thought that was really fascinating. It's got to be government speak at its finest, you know? So I just love it. Just like they reported that there's no deaths from people under the influence of marijuana, because usually we arrest most of them for alcohol, and we don't test any further for marijuana. Once we know we're going to be able to convict them, probably a drunken driving conviction, and so it's too expensive to run the test, so we have no data that people are driving under the, good data and reliable data. So I just, you gotta love it. So anyways, it's just fascinating.
So on that note, CBI did a study of 1,000 blood draws that we had done across the state of just DUIs, and 78% had marijuana in their system.
Maybe we need to get that information to CDOT.
That's a true fact.
Yeah, maybe they need that little bit of information, because they're out there saying that there isn't any of it. So, all right, you're not distracted. You're just driving off the road. Okay, government, okay. Then I headed up so that was Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday I headed up to Denver with Scott on Thursday for the 2-day CML conference, and that's always really, really interesting to get municipal leaders from around the state together with a wide variety of opinions on what should be happening in the state and what their priorities are. My personal priority is not plastic bags, but apparently that is to quite a number of people in this state. So look for that tax to be coming down. 10 cents a bag will probably be coming, so I would start saving my bags, because then you'd have the expense of buying them if you can't afford them and use them for something else. But it was interesting, and but one of the things that maybe Scott and Sylvia and I want to meet about is some of the vaping stuff that might be coming down to go along with because vaping is totally unregulated, so kids underage are able to get hold of that stuff really easily, so kind of interesting. And then PPACG, we meet for our legislative meetings, and several big ones on there. The nice one that died this week was the driving under the, where you can't fire somebody if they're under the influence of marijuana. In the state, they convinced him it was constitutionally illegal with the amendment that we passed. And so that died in committee, so that was really good. So we won't have to worry about our firemen and our policemen driving down the road with something they might have done the night before in their system, right? So, and that's just a big, big thing. So I'm glad that one died. There is another one that's going into committee tomorrow. If you feel so inclined to text your legislators tonight, it's basically the right to live on your streets. and in your neighbor's yard, and we can't do anything about it. So it's a public, I can't remember the name of it, Scott, do you remember that one? Use of public spaces for daily living functions or something. So that's a really not a good one. We want to make sure we're individually protesting that one. So, that's pretty much, oh, and then I got to go to the event where Representative Lamborn, I was on the committee a few months ago, like several people have been on, where you interview the candidates for the various academies around. And so this was the actual rewarding of the letters to them where they got them. And there's an anomaly where every 13th year, instead of appointing 5 people to each academy, he gets to appoint 10. So he had extra nominations that got to go through this year. So it's great to see the future of our America is in good hands with these really, really smart kids that come through there. It's amazing what some of them have done in the first 17 years of their life. So it's really, really cool stuff. Busy week.
Okay, only thing I have, you'll see on the news tonight, one of Fountain Middle School's 7th graders was recognized by 911 and Sheriff's Office and our PD for texting 911. And so I know that was kind of a big thing we were really kind of worried about with texting and being able to text 911. So he was in his house, I guess it was at night, and heard his mom scream, intruder in the house. And so mom was trying to distract the guy. And while that was going on, he and his brother, he must have got his brother out, and he texted 911 because he didn't want to call and talk. So he texted 911 and said, hey, there's a guy in my house. And I think they were able to get out there and get the guy. And so, they just wanted to recognize him for the quick thinking and making the right choices and helping that situation out. So we had representatives from all 3 different areas that came out today and surprised him. He had no idea. And so I was watching him and I was trying to figure out what kid it was. We heard there was a kid going to get it, and so they have this, and the 911 guy's talking, and he starts talking about the situation, and the kid's like, wait a minute. You know, he could tell all of a sudden, and he's talking to his buddies, hey, that was me, and then he even got interviewed, so you might see that on the news tonight, but just kind of cool that one of our kids in middle school knew what to do and was Johnny on the spot with it and saved it from a bad situation. Who knows how it would have went, but good job to him. His name's Arturo Hernandez, so you'll see that on the news tonight. They were all there. It was kind of a neat deal that they did for him, so thanks to Commander and Lieutenant that came out, and of course the SROs that were there. So with that, I got nothing else. We'll move right into our public to be heard. Citizens may address the council on items that are not on our agenda. We ask that you sign up with the clerk prior to the meeting. We may have an answer. If not, we'll ask staff to we'll direct staff to follow up, and we'll try to get the answer to you. I have no cards tonight, and so if there's anybody that would like to get up quickly on anything that's not on our agenda. Okay, we'll move right into consent. All items listed under consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be approved with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen requests, in which case the item may be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. We have items A, B, C, D, E, and F. Mr. Applegate
I move to approve the consent agendas.
and Mr. Geek.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second for approval of our consent. Please vote.
7 yes, motion carried.
All right, we'll move right into old business. 8A is the second reading of ordinance number 1746, an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of Fountain from the regional commercial RC district to the village center VC district for property sometimes known as Gateway Prayer Garden, generally located southeast of the intersection of Office Circle and Banley Drive, Fountain, Colorado, and hereinafter more specifically described in Exhibits A and B. Ms.
Thank you.
Martinez.
Christy Martinez, City of Fountain Planning Department. This is the second reading of the proposed rezone, and there have been no changes to the ordinance since first reading.
Okay, sounds good. Any questions on second reading? Okay. Mr. Applegate
I move that we approve.
and Mr. Geek.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second for approval on second reading. Please vote.
7 yes, motion carried.
Okay, we'll move right into new business. Item 9B, resolution number 20-014, a resolution approving and adopting a fee schedule for the costs incurred in the administration and processing of license fees, service charges, applications, permits, vehicle inspection fees, and other fees and charges, and authorizing the waiver or reduction of certain fees or charges. Ms. Huffman.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. The fee schedule should be updated annually. The last time the fee schedule was updated was in 2018. The 2018 resolution that was approved is included in your packet just as a point of reference. In the fee schedule that you're looking at, hopefully you have it in color in front of you. The red indicates a change in those fees, and the blue indicates a new fee. It's compiled from several different departments, from the fire department, police department, of course, the administration offices, and so on. So if you have any questions on specific fees, on any changes or additions, hopefully we have that staff member here to address those questions.
Okay. Right now I have Ms. Thompson's light is on.
Thank you for making this chart. And it makes it easy to read, so thank you. So I had to get it printed out because I couldn't do it on a small computer. But I just was questioning, and the police department and the fire department on the case reports. I think it was, I'm sorry, I don't have an Exhibit D, if people want to follow along. Exhibit D, it says $10 for the first 10 pages and then 25 cents for each additional page. While I think it's important that we cover the expenses of it, maybe as a business owner, I think a little bit more about the total expense of what something costs. I don't believe that 25 cents an additional page covers the cost of the paper and the ink and the time for the person to stand there and make the copy. So I understand the $10 for the first 10 pages is because there's some redacting or something, so there's a little bit more of a fee up front, which I get that totally. So I'm not saying it needs to go to $1 a page for every second page, but I would say 50 cents or 75 cents or something, because we really need to cover the time and expense of people who are our staff, who are
Do these,
Christia.
I like 75. I wanted to go for $1, so 75's coming down.
how often do you go past 10 pages? Like, would it even make a difference?
I think on some more detailed cases, it'll make a difference, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just curious. I don't, but it's $10 for your first 10 pages, not $10 per first 10 pages.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
So $1 a page for the first 10, then it goes
Okay.
to either 25 or 50.
Oh,
And I would say that for everything that people are asking, 25 cents on all those, where it says 25 cents would be changed to at least 50 or 75 cents to at least cover the costs, because, costs are continually going up for employees. And I believe our citizens are asking us, for the people who need the services, to pay for it. Not all of us need it. When we do, unfortunately, we need it, but it is something, so.
Well, I'll tell you, typically, we choose the 25-cent amount because it's consistent with state statutes under Cora requests. There's a limitation on what we can charge for research fees and then per page cost.
And I believe there is a bill to raise those fees too, so we're probably gonna be bringing that back to raise those to what the new fees are, yeah.
Right. We were just trying to stay consistent with where it is now. so,
Right.
Yep. But that's completely up to you if you want to change it and if staff's okay with that.
Well, he's willing to compromise at 50 cents.
Trying to save us a quarter.
Trying to wait?
Trying to save us a quarter.
Trying to say, well, I understand that, but you're not paying it.
Right.
You're not paying it. It's the person who needs it that's paying it. And,
go ahead. Your light's on.
Yeah, just got a question for Sylvie, just for clarification. Do state statutes limit us to 25 cents per page?
On Cora requests.
Core request.
Yeah. And so by definition,
Okay.
case reports, because it's separate from actual administrative records,
Yeah.
are a little bit different. So they
Okay.
don't necessarily fall under the Cora request.
Okay. I just want to make sure that you were comfortable
Mhm.
with that. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. And then we could come explore the core request side of things if the law changes. Okay.
Right.
I don't really care if it's 25 cents or $1. either way, if it's me, I don't know if anybody else has a strong opinion against it, I don't really.
No,
All right, so what,
it's fine.
what do you wanna go with?
I'm fine, I'll go for 50. It's
Okay.
doubling where we're at.
All right, so we'll go 50 cents. You go with that, Chief Maxon? All right. Ms. Esses?
I have a question on Exhibit E, on this for the permit for excavation. And it's in red, it says excavations under 100 feet, and in red, excavations over 500 feet, and the excavations 100 to 500 feet is scratched out. So what do we do for those?
They're not allowed to, so it's 101 feet, you can't. You'd stop at 100.
Oh, but over 500 is fine too
It's a
then?
joke. Yeah, no, it's a
So,
joke.
so between 100 and 500, we can't do it?
Right.
Okay. Just want to make sure
Yeah, no,
I had that.
What is that? Oh, 4 100s.
Brandy, Todd's looking at you. Come on, Brandy.
Randy Williams, city engineer. Yes, somewhere in the world, there is a number that is between 100 and 500. So since we're changing the 25 cents to 50 cents, for the record, if you wouldn't mind, it should be anything less than 500 feet will be that $150. That'll just have to be in the motion. So the proposed fee is 150. Do you see that column?
It says
Okay, then
125.
I will share.
There'll be a slight break.
So it should be,
Someone provide music, please.
so the two are up to 499 and then 500 and over. Okay, we'll get back to you on that. So I thought that was a question for that. Do you have anything else? Okay, okay. So you're good on that?
Yeah, that
was Okay.
the question I had.
Well, Exhibit F would change the price on, also on the up to 50 cents a page on reports. For the firefighter, for the medical case reports.
So this will be a question for the clerk. Spreadsheet that I have and prepared has all of those charts and rows and columns that they don't have. The fee that made it to this sheet is the current fee and not the proposed fee. So tell me if they can change all of these to the current fees that they've never seen before, or do I have to bring it back in 2 weeks?
All of them? How many are we talking?
All of them.
All of them are,
All of them were the
are incorrect?
Yes.
Okay.
So we can adopt it minus exhibit.
Correct, and we'll just bring it back in 2 weeks and make sure that these two are
So
reconciled.
can we have a real quick check though? Can,
I would assume everything else is the same because the engineering fees are independent. Like,
Okay.
we had our own fees, so I'm sure Christy triple checked all of her stuff. Somehow, this document was not reconciled correctly with the other documents.
with the document that's in the packet?
Yeah, the document in the packet picked the wrong column of information and put it in the packet.
Good thing you're here.
It is, that's why I'm here. So,
Yes.
I think if you can just adopt it without that, we'll do it in 2 weeks.
Okay, but you guys feel comfortable that the rest of the numbers are fine? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
In the other departments?
I have a printout if anybody wants us to look at it really quick.
Stand by, we'll double check PD, and I think fire, we're gonna bring fire back to you in 2 weeks too with, engineering.
Mr. Mayor, if that's the case, if council would like to table this item and bring it back,
Yeah, then you can, it's
that
entirely
would
up to
probably be best.
Oh, okay.
Can we, while they kind of just quick check, can we,
Can we just go on to the next item and then come back?
yeah, come back to it? Are we okay with that, attorney? Okay.
Okay,
Okay,
PD says
so-
everything else is correct. Does fire want to see it? PD says everything's correct on there, and does
everything's good?
fire want to see it? I did have one last question, and they just took it. Exhibit J, is that yours, Sylvia?
Exhibit J?
Isn't it? I think it said J.
C-H-I-J, I don't have J.
I can see it, thank you. Exhibit J, is that the fees you were talking about that have to do with Cora? Research documents, $30 an hour, copy printout,
Yes.
25, that's Cora, so we
Yes.
can't adjust those fees at
Right.
all.
And actually, Cora, I believe, is $33.58 or something like that an hour. We just kept it at 30
Is there a J? I don't have a J.
for research.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, okay, so this is not Cora?
It is Cora.
Oh, and you
Just-
said now it's 33 something?
It is 33 something, but we were gonna leave it at the 30. We don't typically charge the research fee unless it's a really large Cora request. We're doing electronic, and thankfully, we have a lot of things electronically now that we can offer to
Right.
those requesting those Cora requests. So if we know that it's gonna be a larger request, we actually give a cost estimate to the requester. and let them
Okay,
know.
because
We go
I'm
off.
sure you've seen the bill that I think I forwarded it to you earlier today, that they're talking about some of those fees, they might break it out, so it'd be different for somebody that wants it for a commercial purpose. We'll be able to charge them more than if it's somebody requesting it just for a private reason.
Yeah.
Oh, I see, they're all
Okay,
out of order.
so I'd like to, if that does pass, I'd like to bring that back.
Okay,
Just that.
I think there's a little bit of them.
Okay, I'm okay. I got J.
So what,
Mine J.
which exhibit was it again for the, no, the one that you brought up, it was E?
E.
So it's there. You have to go further on.
Yeah, we're good.
It's there. It's there. So we have like two exhibit Es. And so the first exhibit E is the previous fees, and if you flip further down, that's why I was a little confused. The exhibit E with the actual fees is in the packet. So you have both, but they're not together. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's right here. I'm looking right at it.
We all got it, I think.
Yeah, we got a separate packet sent out.
I don't know.
So in your
Todd,
packet,
they have it down
resolution,
there, whatever I have.
20
Troy has it. Troy has it, let's see.
014. It should have resolution 20014 followed by the fee schedule that we're wanting you to consider.
Yeah, we'll go.
Once that fee schedule ends, then it's
I didn't know
followed
we
by
had
the existing fee schedule that starts with resolution 18014.
0 what?
All good.
18034. I
3-4,
apologize.
okay. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at now. So I think that's where the confusion, and I think someone even emailed and had the kind of the same. That was the confusion, just the way the packet was set up, but it's all there.
Can we go back to Exhibit D? Can we change color copies up to 75 cents? Otherwise, if they're the same price as the black and white copies, everybody's going to request a color copy. Chief Heber,
Yes, ma'am.
are you texting? Are you distracted?
Texting my expert over here.
If we raise the fees for the black and white copy to 50 cents a copy, it's the same as the color. So are you okay with raising the color to 75 cents a copy?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense. Otherwise, everybody's going to request color. Okay.
So the only thing we're changing is the 50 cents? That's
For
the only
color.
thing
Cents for standard color and then, or black and white, and then color
Black
is
and white's
75
50
cents.
cents, color's 75 cents.
And that's the only thing we're changing on these
E
fees?
on there is correct.
On,
right?
except for the one
Yes.
Tamara.
Just E in the
Hang on.
packet that was-
I still haven't,
Well, it's there. It's just further back.
okay,
Isn't Tamara's fee there?
got it.
That's right there.
So that's the only thing we're changing.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Oh, actually, no.
No, it's not, because the excavation's less than the total. She said 150,
Mr. Mayor,
125.
why don't we just bring back E altogether, because both of those that are showing. are
Right, yeah,
showing-
it says,
Yeah.
it has the thing where it's, yeah, it's just messed up.
There are separate firefighting fees that we need, inspection fees that aren't part of this, that we need to vet a little bit internally, that are gonna be coming back to the city council anyway. So that'll be a good opportunity to have the corrected version for the engineering fees
Okay.
at the same time.
Okay, so do you want us to adopt
Everything with the exception of E.
of D,
E.
E? E. Okay, I'll make a motion.
Which E?
Okay,
Because
well-
there's two E's, right?
Either one.
But they're the
Either
same thing, yeah.
All
it's
in,
Shows the existing schedule that's-
That was herding cats.
No, the firefighting one, the ones that are here are good. There are some additional ones they're looking at and exploring, so we'll bring, but we needed to do some internal stuff first. We'll bring those back anyway.
we're taking
We knew
off
we had to
E.
come back anyway for those separate ones.
We're
But the-
taking off E.
But the current ones are good, yeah, other than E. I would just take off
All right,
that.
I'll make
that
a motion
exhibit.
to
Well-
approve. Oh,
I don't know, any other questions or on any of the other sections? I just wanna make sure we're hitting everything. Anybody have any questions on any of the other sections? Okay, Ms. Sharon, go ahead.
I make a motion to approve A, B, C, E, F, G, H, I, J,
Right, she didn't say E.
A, B, C, D, F, G.
All except for section
H, I,
E.
J. Take out, okay, you want me to do it different? I make a motion to approve it eliminating section E.
And
okay,
adding the cost of the copies for,
And changing the cost of the copies from 25 cents a copy to 50 cents for black and white, and from 50 cents to 75 cents for color.
okay. All right.
Did I cover it all, Sylvia?
Mr. Geek,
I second that.
okay, we have a motion and second for approval. Please vote.
Thanks, Tamara.
7 yes, motion carried.
All right. Okay, item 9C, first reading of ordinance number 1747, an ordinance repealing Title V Business Tax Licenses and Regulations, Chapter 5.29 of the Fountain Municipal Code, entitled Non-Cigarette Tobacco Product Retailer Licensing Ordinance, and replacing with new Chapter 5.36 entitled Tobacco Product Retail Licensing Ordinance, establishing procedures for licensing and regulating tobacco and nicotine products. Ms. Huffman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Ms. Jennifer Lang is here with us tonight from El Paso County Health Department. She reached out to us several years ago. We did present City Council with an ordinance for non-cigarette tobacco use. There have been some changes with House bills that now allow us to do some regulations on tobacco, not just non-cigarette tobacco. At one point, we were not able to do that since we received a sales tax on it, and that's since changed. In this new ordinance, then, it incorporates information for tobacco, non-cigarette tobacco. And Councilmember Thompson, to your point, we did include language in there for vaping,
Okay.
e-cigarettes, and if you look into the definitions specifically, I believe it's page 3. It speaks to electronic smoking device and component and/or part. We actually added some language in there that would include water pipes and hookah pipes. So Ms. Lang was kind enough to put together an ordinance, a sample ordinance, send it to our office. And Officer Racine is here as well. He did a ton of work on this, as did our city attorney, Troy Johnson. So it is presented to you tonight after being viewed by many different eyes and departments. And this is for first reading on this item. Do you guys have any questions?
Okay, any questions for Sylvia at this point? Go ahead.
I had two, and then somebody contacted me this weekend with a third. One of them is over on page 7, in section 5.36.070, subparagraph A2. That mentions the business name, address, telephone number of a single fixed location. And the question I had is, if a business has multiple locations, do they have to get a separate license for each location?
Yes, they would do that in the case of a business license anyway. So it would be the same.
Yeah, I just wanted to, for clarity. And then on page 10, in 5.36.140A, there's the words, compliance shall be monitored by the department. In addition, any peace officer may enforce the penal provisions, but then there's no definition of peace officer and where I grew up. The only reason I bring it up is because where I grew up, the words peace officer were used differently than they are here. And having been in the military, we had peace officer was used radically differently everywhere I went. So is there a clarification definition on peace
There's a
officer?
definition in our municipal code for a peace officer.
And then the question that, I don't know that I'd call him a concerned citizen so much as a kibitzer, but he was saying, in page 11 on 5.36.150B, where you're talking about penalties, that each day a violation exists, it should be considered a separate occurrence. And his question was, when does the clock start on that? When they're notified of a problem or notified that there's a hearing?
Officer Racine, if you have a moment to maybe answer that question.
Yeah, so,
You have
Microphone.
to come up to the mic.
Is this your
Don't get
first
in
time here?
trouble.
wow, man, that was
Matt Racine from Police
like a
Department.
whole chorus and stuff.
So any violation of the license requirements may be subject to, is that the, you said B?
Yeah.
Okay, so each day that a violation exists shall be considered a separate occurrence and subject to penalties there. And that violation is primarily going to be when an individual doesn't have a license and they continue to sell. Because each violation, when we do the compliance monitoring, we go out and we'll do those 4 times a year. We do underage sales. We also do physical store inspections. The store is notified of any physical store inspection violations immediately. While we're on scene there, the sales, they're notified later after the criminal investigation is put together and the clerk could be cited.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt.
Yes, sir.
And that was it for me. Thanks.
Okay. Ms. Thompson?
Is Miss Lane here?
Mm-hmm.
She is.
I thought so. I was just wondering if for the public, if you could address a concern that I've heard many, many people address over the years.
Yes.
Is the age of the tobacco
Mm-hmm.
is 21 now, right?
It is now 21.
It is now 21, yeah. And so a lot of people are just really not frustrated, but they just made the comment that we ask these young men to go off, and women, right? We ask our youth to go off and fight for our country, and they come back and they can't smoke a cigarette.
Right.
Or
Completely
vape.
understand
And
those
they use that
concerns.
a lot of times to deal with stress. I don't smoke, so I'm not a smoker, but so I don't understand, but yeah, I think it is fairly expressed. And so how do you guys kind of discuss that issue?
Well, as I'm sure you're all aware, the federal legal age for sales for tobacco was raised to 21 in December by President Trump. The rationale behind that is to help protect the health of our soldiers among all citizens. To be able to fight and serve for your country is an honor and a privilege. Protecting one's health and being targeted by the tobacco industry is another aspect of it. So we want to value the lives of our military members as equally as we do all citizens.
Ms. Sharon, surprisingly enough, Fort Carson, Peterson Air Force Base, all the surrounding military installations, when we first started working with the military, they're all in support. The commanders, from a readiness, health standpoint, dental is one of the biggest things that can prevent a soldier from deploying. And I saw that many, many times. Young soldiers that would get hooked and go over and become non-deployable because of dental issues. So it's a readiness issue in the military. That's also a fair point. Understand your point, but very surprisingly, all the military surrounding commanders were very in support of 21.
The interesting thing is this comment has come to me more from people who are more in the retired military community.
It does.
Because many of them, their MREs, had cigarettes in them when they were deployed, and I got somebody nod their head back there, and they actually started smoking because it was in their MREs. And so it's just kind of, I like seeing it. It's a personal choice I made in my life, but I do get that comment from a lot of them that,
Sure.
it was a great stress, de-stressor for them. So anyways, I just wanted to see how you guys are addressing the
I
issue.
appreciate your comment about the stress reduction. If you're aware of nicotine and the physiological effects of nicotine addiction, it raises your blood pressure, it raises your stress level. It really has the opposite effect that you're trying to achieve through tobacco use. I think it's much more productive to teach more effective stress-reducing behaviors. I'm a former smoker, I do understand. But again, it's to help protect the health of our soldiers in addition to all men and women serving our country. Sure.
Did you have anything else?
I
don't
do.
hear, so yeah, go ahead.
Yes, hi. So good evening. My name is Jennifer Lang. I'm a prevention and public policy specialist with El Paso County Public Health. I'm here tonight to speak in support of this ordinance to increase the minimum legal sales age of tobacco to 21 and also to regulate tobacco retail licensing. In 2011, the City of Fountain demonstrated its leadership as a second community in Colorado to implement tobacco retail licensing. Many of you in the room tonight were even a part of that effort, including Mayor Ortega, Scott Traynor, Todd Evans with the police chief, and Sylvia Huffman as well as city clerk. With leadership of Chief Hever and Lieutenant Racine, that initiative has resulted in the development of a model enforcement program that has been replicated successfully in communities across the state to help reduce the instances of underage tobacco sales. So I want to thank you for your consideration of this ordinance, and please know that El Paso County Public Health continues to value the partnership with the City of Fountain as well as its police department.
Yep.
Excuse me.
Oh, no, and I know, you probably know that I was just recently in DC and kind of, this is kind of what kicked off that whole conversation at the Mayor's Innovation Project Conference, and that was the first thing I talked about, was that I couldn't remember what year it was, I knew it was a long time ago, but we did that original ordinance, and then how it kind of led into communities that care, and
Yes.
and how involved City of Fountain, School District, and Whitefield are really into all that, so it seems like a worthy effort and a good one, so seeing what the damages all that stuff does to everybody, but anything else, any other questions, comments, concerns from anybody?
I think I asked the question at CML, and nobody has gotten back to me. Are they going to do licensing on the military basis as well?
It does.
It will. It's a federal law. I just don't know what the military's plan is to implement that, but it's going to be universally. Because that used to be one of the loopholes from the outside and the inside.
Right, right.
It's going to get closed out with the law eventually.
Yeah, because if all the communities around the base go to the licensing structure, but yet they don't do it, it's going to affect the price of the product. I mean, that's just bottom line from business point of
Yes.
view.
One point I would add on enforcement, we've been doing this for a long time, since 2011. Very, very rarely have we ever had to cite and find a business. Usually it's coaching, usually it's education, usually it's getting the leadership involved, the managers involved, the owners involved, and we work together, we solve the problem. So really the fines and the carrot and the stick, so to speak, is really the worst case scenario, and used for only the most extreme examples. We really want to work the businesses. It's in their best interest. It's a federal law. It's in our best interest to work with them. So 90% of the time we come to a common solution and we work it out.
Okay.
Well, thank
No,
you.
thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, with that, Mr. Geek, your light's on?
Just like to make a motion,
Go ahead.
like to make a motion to approve ordinance 1747.
All right, Ms. Duncan?
I second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for approval. Please vote.
7 yes, motion carried.
All right, thank you. And our last item under new business is item 9D, resolution number 20-015, a resolution authorizing the approval of an intergovernmental support agreement, IGSA, IGSA, between City of Fountain, Colorado, and the Fort Carson Army Installation. Mr. Johnson.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I'm here today to present this item to you. Unfortunately, John Trelch could not be here tonight. This has been his baby, his project from its inception, and I've kind of worked alongside him closely along with Fort Carson to get this done. As you know, these intergovernmental support agreements are kind of growing, gaining a lot of steam nationwide. Really neat opportunities for communities nearby military installations to partner with the installations so that everyone involved benefits. The installation can cut down on some of their larger scope federal requirements for contracting, and the city can be flexible and help out its neighboring military installations, and everybody wins. And so what we've got in front of you tonight is the first official one for the City of Fountain to assist Fort Carson with its pest control services. And so the agreement is between Fort Carson and the City of Fountain, and we would be agreeing to provide their pest control services. We would be compensated, obviously, for that, and the plan would be to subcontract that out to a pest control company, and for the city to sort of administer the contract. So this is very exciting. Hopefully, one of many to come, and so this is the first one. And what I'll tell you is that Fort Carson is very excited about this, and so what's in front of you is to authorize the mayor to execute this agreement with Fort Carson, and I imagine they'll want to kind of make a big show of it, and so that's not tonight, but there will be probably an event in the coming weeks to really celebrate this new relationship, and this is the first step towards that. So if there are any questions, be happy to answer those.
No, any questions from anybody? Okay, I see no questions. What would council like to do? Ms. Duncan?
I move that we approve resolution 20-015.
And Mr. Geek?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Mr. Lauer, do you have anything? Okay, please vote.
7 yes, motion carried.
All right, thanks, Troy. Item 10, correspondence, comments, and ex official reports. I'll start with City Manager Trainer. Deputy City Manager, Mr. Evans. Nothing from Troy. Chief Maxon, how you doing? Good. Chief Heber. Wow, Ms. Martinez.
I would like to say nothing, but I just want to remind everybody that the census is coming up on April 1st, so you received some of the information and promotional materials that the city was awarded a grant for through DOLA. There's also notification going out in the utility bills and other information just being posted around the city for it.
Right. I know it's important, and a lot of people, they get, you get those people that feel like they need to complain about it, but it really does help funding. It helps schools. It helps everybody. And when I met with the mayors, even Mayor Souther said that possibly we could gain a representative, or somewhere down here we could get another representative. So that would be very helpful for us in some things. So.
And it's quick and easy, and it's the first year that you can do it online.
Okay, great.
And to the military people, I'm glad you have a home of record, but we need to know where you are today. You're driving on our roads and using our services today. We need to count you today here, not your home of record.
That's important. Thank you. Yeah, okay. Anything, Ben? You good? Okay. Anything from IT? Nope, you guys are good. Ms. Huffman?
Nothing tonight.
Okay, I'll start with Ms. Dieter. Anything?
Okay, the ballots are out in the mail, and I encourage everyone to turn in your ballot. I'm here today because every vote counts. If you are 17 years old and turn 18 before the November general election, you're eligible to cast primary ballots. So again, if you are going to turn 18 before the November general election, you can vote in Colorado's upcoming presidential primary.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Geek?
Just one thing, the coronavirus, I'm getting daily reports on what's going on as far as the public health is concerned, or Board of Health, and we're meeting in the morning, so I'll get a heads up.
Okay, sounds good. Ms. Applegate, anything?
Nothing else.
Ms. Estes? Ms. Mayor Pro Tem?
Nothing further for me.
Ms. Thompson?
Senator Heisey is running a bill, and I don't have the bill number, but he wrote about it in last week's Fountain Valley News. I think it's a really important bill we need to fill in. If your student turns 18 before the end of the school year, right now, they're an adult in the eyes of the law, and any protections they would have at high school disappear. They could, a teacher or an aide or somebody could enter in a relationship with them, and there would be no recourse. And he is running a bill to get rid of that loophole. And so I would encourage everybody, if you pull up last week's Fountain Valley News and see that bill number in that article, to send Commissioner Heisey an email of support in that. I think it's very important. Just because you turn 18 before you graduate from high school doesn't mean you should, people should be able to bother you. You need to just be able to go to school and finish your education. So please support that bill with him.
Okay. I have nothing. I don't think we have anything big happening anytime soon that we can think of. We do have an executive session tonight, and so I'll let Ms. Huffman read it in.
Thank you. I'd like to request an executive session pursuant to CRS Section 24-6-4024 for the purpose of review, approval, and amendment of executive session minutes, and pursuant to CRS Section 24-6-4024B for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem
Move to go into executive session as requested.
and Mr. Geek.
Second.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Please vote.
6 yes, 1 no. Councilmember Thompson voting no, motion carried.
All right, our next meeting is March 10th, 2020. We'll see you then. Adjourn? Do we adjourn?